My name is Linda Ya Ampa. Keep watching the KSM Show, King of Prime Time TV.
Folks, thank you. Folks, today, if you can tell, I'm a bit on the sober side, man, because it's going to be an amazing story that you're going to be listening to. Let me tell you something. Come February next year, I think I would have been on air on this show for 17 years, man. You can't help me, man. It's okay. For 17 years, I think, if my memory serves me right, and it won't, I've interviewed over 1,000 people, man. And I mean, that's just statistically, you know. But let me tell you, in all the interviews I've conducted, none is touching me like the one I'm just about to do. This is a very, very, very amazing story of human endurance. It's just simply mind-boggling how anyone could have gone through what she has gone through and can still talk about it and inspire others. I'm not going to talk too long. I'm just going to invite a dear friend that I've just met, but whose story is totally amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together, show some love for Serwaa Benning. There we go. Please. How are you? Oh. Now, folks, let me tell you something, man. And before I start, I want the camera. This is your camera. Show a close-up of her so that we see who my guest is. and look at that smile. Look at that smile. And then come to me now. Tell you, this charming lady sitting here, relaxed, with such a beautiful smile, her story will blow your mind. I don't know of anyone, of any woman who has been gang raped by 4, and on the same day as she's trying to sort herself out, becomes a victim 2 other times. So she's raped 6 times in a day, plus other absolutely horrific experiences she's had. She's here today to share her story and her strength, and above all, folks, above all, to encourage. Because listen to me, folks, believe it or not, there are people suffering in this country. Men and women both, especially some women and what they are going through. Because of where we sit and the people we talk to, we get information and you'll be amazed at what people in society, powerful women, influential women, you'll be surprised in their private marital lives, the pain, the agony, the frustrations they are going through. But that's a discussion for another time. Today we're just going to have a chat with Ama Serwaa, listen to what she has gone through and the advice she has to give. And later on, before the show ends, I'll give you a hotline for people who I know there are many out there who may need to talk, who may need to reach out for advice, who've been through similar things. So one more time for my guest. Welcome to the show. It's amazing you sit here and even have a smile on your face. The God you serve must be an awesome God. Wow. But you have an unbelievably horrific story, if I may put it that. In one day, like you were gang raped by 4 people and suffered 2 other.
Yep.
Let's go back. I want you to tell us a story. Let's rewind a bit and tell me a little bit about this.
Okay.
Yeah.
My name is Eva Benning, and I am 50 years old. I was born in England, and when I was about 2 years old, my father got a job to come back to Ghana. So he came, but my mother didn't come. I went to university. I was a brilliant student, but my father was the type where if you got 5 A's and 1 B, the 1 B wasn't good enough, so we got beaten all the time.
For getting a B.
For getting a B.
Yeah.
So he was so strict with everything that we were very afraid of him, of my father. Basically what happened was I went to St. Monica's after that, and I was very good at athletics. So I used to run for the school, and then one day we had interco. This is many, many years ago, you have to think, because I'm 50, so that's, you know, the dinosaur age, you know. And so after that, they all decided they wanted to go to the disco. It's called The Star. I think I can remember for many, many years ago. And so as a kid, I went along, you know, and I thought, okay, this is fun, whatever. And then I remember sort of getting a drink, and the next thing I realized I was very dizzy. The next thing I realized, I was like outside in the bush, and there were like 4 men.
In the bush?
Yeah, it was like out.
So then the drink was laced?
Yeah, it was, I think,
laced?
yes, yeah, because I can't remember. I was being gang raped. And when they finished and I managed to get myself together, my clothes were torn up and everything else, I ran back to our house. And you can imagine my father, I'm extremely afraid, fear. When my father comes in the house, I'm shaking. So I get to our house and I can't come into the house. I'm sitting outside the wall because I'm too afraid.
Physically, your clothes were all torn?
My clothes were torn, there's blood, you know. I'm in tears, you know, screaming. I'm standing at the back of this wall, but I can't come in. So anyway, after a while, I managed to sort of get myself together and I entered the house. And when my father came, he chased me. I remember I lived in VRA. He chased me with a cane up the road with my neighbors looking at me.
When he saw you?
When he saw me, instead of coming and saying, you know, something is wrong, what's going on? So he chased me up and I started to run because I was too afraid to come home. So I went to a friend of ours to sleep, and what they did was they rang our house to say I am there, and I think wanting to say, you know, something's happened. And because I was too afraid of my father, I ran again. I ran to one of our friends' house thinking, okay, this is where I'm going to be safe and just sleep. And when I got there, I got raped by one of their sons there. I thought, okay, God, what do I do? So I ran myself out again, trying to find places, and I ended up with another friend's house, but the door was, remember, this is late, very late in the morning, in the night. So I ended up in another friend's house, but I can remember the door was closed. I managed to open the gate to they have like a garage, boys' quarters there, where they have one of their sons living there. So I went and I said, please, I need somewhere to sleep. Unfortunately, I didn't end up in sleep, so I got raped again. So that was the 6th rape in one night. Yeah. I then got myself up, and to be honest, I can't remember. I remember a lady giving me money, and I managed to get myself the transport to come back to St. Monica's to school. When I came to school for about a week later, my father turned up. And when he turned up, I was called in front of the house mistress, and he beat me. Oh.
For
because I am a disgrace to the family, because you know, I'm a bad girl.
Then that you had been raped?
Yes. It was my fault. And it was my fault because I went to this disco place. So he beat, I mean, I said he beat me, kicking me in the stomach. I mean, he really beat me. And then what happened when he left? My teacher went and he told she went and told like all the other teachers. So not very long after that, few days after that, in the middle of the night, then I'll get a call that I need to go to a teacher's house. I go to the male teacher. I got, and the male teacher's lying in the bed naked, wanting to have sex. And then I'll run back. And in those situations where I run...
Well, they will send for you?
Yes.
To come?
Yes, to come. And you know, that's part of our culture where children, we don't disrespect, adult, elderly people. When they say do things, you get up and you do that.
And then teacher Debra.
Yes, teacher Debra. And I got to some situation, when I get there, there's like the teacher with the students lying in bed and wanting me to, so it's like a threesome. And then I run again, and all the teachers will threaten me and say, you know what, if you go and say something about it, you know your father, we're going to ring your father, what am I going to say? Your grade is not going to come up, everything, so you have to keep quiet. This is part of the issue I want to bring up as parents and as children, with our children. We have to be close to our children. If this had happened the first time, I could have gone to my dad. I could have saved the 2 extra rapes. I could have, other things. And it is important that fathers have that relationship also with their daughters. Fathers that are not there for their daughters. The daughters, they go out and find, if another man gives them attention and buy them pork chops or whatever it is, they get the wrong attention, then they do the wrong things for the wrong attention. It is important that children, in this culture that we have children must be seen but not be heard.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if I can't come to you,
so basically what you're saying is that if you had been able to, if you had that relationship with your
Yes.
dad, you probably wouldn't have gone through further.
I wouldn't have gone through further
Yeah.
things, because he could have been there and just,
And
you
you
know,
just tell him
what happened, and, you know, go through all
Yeah,
these, instead
yeah,
of going
yeah,
through
yeah.
all the extra and also going through school and everything else. So it ended up with me having like a bad name in school. And when I came home, I was also an embarrassment to the family. And I'm the victim
for being raped.
for being raped. And I got to stage I started peeing in bed, because that's also another, some of the symptoms of that. So
How old were you?
I was 15, 16.
And you were peeing in
I was
bed?
peeing in bed,
And
yes.
it came after the experience.
It came after the experience. That's part of the experience. When you get kids that are sometimes sexually abused, sometimes you can see they start to, they start to pee in bed. That's another one issue you have to also look out for, some of the signs. So I started peeing in bed. I was an embarrassment to my family. As I said, I was also an embarrassment to my, to school. And then I knew that my biological, I had a stepmother. I had a woman I was staying with, and she was my mother. But I knew in my soul that she was not my mother. Something told me it wasn't my mother. So one day I asked one of my aunties, and then she told me that it wasn't. So I gradually took the courage to my dad, and I said, you know, oh, I've heard, and my father admitted, thank God. So gradually I got my mother's address, and my mother sent me a ticket, and I knew that I didn't want to come back.
So your mother was not in Ghana?
No.
You were living with your stepmom?
I was living with my
Okay.
stepmother all the time.
Okay.
And my stepmother was good to me, so,
Okay.
you know, that's that,
Okay.
yeah. So I got the ticket, and we had a one-way ticket, and I'd managed to convince my father that, you know, oh, I'm just going to come, we'll take the ticket, when I'm coming back, then we'll buy the ticket. But I knew that I wanted to come back to London and start a new life. That was my story, because, you know, I'm embarrassment here, and I'm a problem here.
Yeah, yeah. So just leave town.
Just
and
leave town.
Leave everything behind.
Just leave everything behind, start life, new life. So I managed to get on the plane. I get to the airport, my mother doesn't turn up. And I think, you know, and I'm 16 years old. I'm green as anything. I mean, we're talking many years back,
Yeah.
15, 16. And I was sitting with a man in the plane, and we started talking and everything else. And he said, okay, I'll take you to a place, you know, I'll take you somewhere safe. I was green, I don't know where to go to in Heathrow, I have no idea. And God being so, God has been in my life, I don't know how. This man actually took me to the most amazing family. So I stayed there, slept there, and then the next day, this woman turned up. And this woman was, my mother. And I'd never seen my mother, so I don't know what she looks like. Okay, and my mom is about 40 years older than me. Yeah? And she's extremely religious. She goes to much, religious with so many restrictions, you know, hats on and, you know, all the rest of it. So anyway, we came.
So when you spent the night in this nice place, they called your mom to let them know you were there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they
So
did
she
the
came
research,
over.
and
Yeah.
then she came over there. So
Okay,
this
okay.
lady turned up, and it's like, okay, this is your mother. Okay, yeah, okay, fine, yeah. Okay, so we got there, went with my mother. We go to church almost the whole day, and my mother had a boyfriend. So my mother's boyfriend, you know, he was very nice. In the beginning, I didn't go to visit him. It was my mother that used to go. And this boyfriend sometimes would sit with me when I had to study, do my homework. If I needed to go and do some shopping, he would do with me, and he would give me money. And I remember my mom saying, oh, do you know what? He saves me a lot of trouble, and he helps me with the money and everything else, so it takes the burden off me. So I felt under pressure. I'm coming to explain why. And then basically what would happen was that he was a pedophile. So he started grooming me. So he started grooming me very, very gently. And when I say the pedophiles, these are part of the issues that I'm talking about. If we are in a society where children cannot talk what they've said, you give rooms, the things that we think it's protecting our society is actually the thing that is actually benefiting the people that can actually use this to actually abuse the kids. So I ended up again in sex abuse. And to make matters worse, what happened was when I had the courage to tell my mother one day, she said to me, I think it was too overwhelming for her to think that, you know, how can this man do it? And that's the whole issue. A lot of people have the idea of an abuser is obi awa bodam, or somebody who's mad or this and that. The reality is your abuser could be the uncle, it could be the father, it could be the sister, it could be the doctor, it could be the nurse, it could be anybody.
So it was half your mom to believe that her boyfriend was capable of
and then I remember her clearly saying to me that, do you know what, go back and if he does that again, you tell him that you're coming to tell me. And I thought, oh God, I have been here running to get a new life and I end up here. What am I going to do? So I thought, God, what am I going to do? In the meantime, I used to have this menstruation period and I used to have really bad periods. And so every time I went to my doctor just said, oh, take these pills, it's just in your head. And of course, at that time, I was a bit messed up in my own head as a kid. And one day I lay down in the bed and I thought, okay, do you know what? Let's just finish life. I'm going to commit suicide. So I took one tablet, I took two, and I took number 3, and I was just about to take the whole bottle in my hand. And then suddenly, God is always with me. I had this feeling of energy, and I just threw the tablet away, and I said, no, I am not going to.
After you've taken 3?
I've taken 3. I was just about to take the whole bottle of tablets. And I threw, and I said, okay, now I have to get up and do something. So I got up, gradually I went to find a place, and I managed to pack and leave the house. And my mom's church at that time, they had told her that when I go, I'm going to join bad company and this and that. So my mother just said, thank you, bye, and left. And at the age of 17, 18, I didn't know anybody in England. I was a kid that's completely messed up. I went gradually and I found a job. How I did, I don't even know how I did it. Gradually, I took myself to school, but I had a lot of problems. I had a lot of problems, trust me. I had trauma. I had issues. I had issues of very low self-esteem. And I think that's the issue. I want people to understand the issue of rape itself. And that was the issue I want to bring up, for example, maybe for men to understand what rape, for example, is. If you're a man and imagine you have somebody, another man, that is like a third bigger than yourself, much stronger than you, comes down and pins you down whilst you are screaming and fighting, and that man rips your pants off and you're fighting your fight out. You can smell them, you can feel their weight on them, you can taste them, you can hear what they're saying. They taste it, and sorry to put the word quite bluntly, they put whatever it is in your backside. And at that time, because you are fighting, everything is tight. It's the same thing for women. So men also have to understand the issue of rape, because there's some people that just think, oh, it's just, because women are designed and can, it is not. It is that fear when you are your body. And can you imagine what it feels like as a man being strapped down and being taken like that? That gives an idea of the trauma of what people go through. I'm trying to sort of put a picture in your head to see what it is like. If I was with my friends, I pretended. And that's what we all do. We sit and we pretend that nothing is going on. Trust me, a lot of people smiling there, but if they tell you the stories that's actually eating them inside, you will be amazed. So people, everywhere I went, I was like looking, I was a sheer wreck. I couldn't even, if I went and I had a dress, I couldn't even have a dress or a skirt on. Because when I was raped, I had a dress on. And so I think I had a mental association. I wouldn't have makeup
the dress
on.
And working,
Yes, I wouldn't have a makeup on. I wouldn't do anything that makes me look attractive at all, because I didn't want that attraction at all. So your soul is literally taken away. The issue of rape.
Okay, your soul is literally taken away.
Your soul.
Folks, let's pause for the course. Let's go to a short break. When we come back, we're going to get more of how she handled it and why and how she's here today. Stick around, we'll be right back. Ooh.
The KSM Show.
We're back, folks. We're back. And as I said in the beginning, brace yourself. This is a story and a half. Ama, or should I call you Serwaa?
Ama Serwaa, that's fine.
Ama Serwaa. Wow. So, I mean, at what point did you decide, I'm going to be strong enough to talk about this, to let people know I've been through this, and there are many others there, and I can do something that can help somebody?
When I started getting therapy,
You went through
and
therapy?
I went through a lot of,
Yeah.
trust me, a lot of therapy. I went through a lot of therapy, and different types of therapy. And also I believed somewhere in my soul that God was there for me all through this. I actually truly believed that God was through to this. But for me, in order to get there, I also knew that I had to face my own demons, if I can put it that way. So one of the things that I decided to do was the fact that in order to solve this, I needed to come back to Ghana, and I have to come and face my dad. Ooh. And at that time, I was almost 30. And you remember, you know, when you remember somebody, you remember last time you remembered them. So when I left, I was like 15, 16, but I'm a 30-year-old woman. Yes, I'm like a 30-year-old woman in the plane. But before I left, I went to my mom and I said, Mom, please come with me to Ghana. And my mom said, oh, the church has said that if we go, we're going to have a plane accident, plane crash. So I said, okay, do you know what? I will take my God. Because the thing was, I was dying inside. So either I died inside, or I had to fight. So I got on the plane, shaking, and I mean, I was shaking like a leaf because I was so afraid to meet my father. I got to the airport, saw this man, I was like, oh. And I remember we having a conversation, and I just managed to say, oh, the next day I want to go and see my best friend. Then my father's voice started going up again, you know, like what he normally does. And then I started like going into panic. And then suddenly, God's grace, I had this power that came through me, and I just said, Father, stop and listen.
Wow.
And he was going, and I said, stop and listen. I've never in my life, my father could even stay there and say that. So I sat.
He must have been shocked.
He was shocked to hear me. And I sat him down. I said, now, this is your time to listen to what's happened to me. And he sat, and I gave him all the gruesome details of it. And I have to say, my father, he cried.
He was hearing everything for the very first time?
For the very first time, he could really sit and hear from what, you know, what I had to tell him. So in the end, he begged me for forgiveness.
Wow.
Yeah. And I thought, okay, thank you. And that was a big healing for me.
Wow.
So after that, but I remember 2 of my abuses in my head. I don't know how I did it. So when I came back, I went to face the 2. And when
Those who had
raped me.
Who are gang raped?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to face them?
I went there and I found them. So I went there and I found them. I said, you know, long time ago, you did, you know, whatever, you know.
And they remembered?
And they actually said sorry, which is very amazing because there's not a lot of people that would actually admit. So when they said sorry, whatever it is, okay, we sorted it out.
Apologized.
They apologized. And that was a very big relief for me. And then I thought, okay, if that's happened, then I'll come back to London. Now it's my mother, the one, my mother. And when I came to my mother, and I remember her saying to me, okay, do you know what? Let me ring your abuser and ask him. I mean, can you imagine?
He says he's going to call.
He's going to ring my abuser to ask my abuser if what I'm telling is right. So my mother rings my, you know, the boyfriend, and the boyfriend says, and what are you going to do about it?
Oh, so he admitted he had done it.
Yes. He said, what are you going to do about it? And I was so angry. One of the things with abuse is you get angry. There is something, I think it's the anger that you don't have the power. You built in anger in yourself. And I was angry. You get angry. The slightest thing you blow off. That's one of the signs of abuse as well. Wow. People that really blow off. There's nothing. It triggers them off just like that.
You blew off.
It's just, so I blew off completely, of course. I was also mad. I'm a mother myself. And if my kids come and tell me anything like that, I would just hop in. So to see a mother that would not, you know, and even then have to ring.
She didn't believe
ask. You? Yes. And that's one of the things of our culture as well.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, for the first, we can't approach our, you know, our family to tell them. On the second, if we come and tell them, they say, oh, kamanutu mubwa. How are we going to go forward? How are we? You have to be heard, and people have to accept that's what's happened. So my mother and I, there was a big fight anyway, and in the end I left. And then I thought, okay, now it's my last abuser there, my mother's, the paedophile. 5 days before I decided to go and see him, he died.
Oh, you already confront him?
No, I wanted to go and confront him.
But
he
5
died.
days before he died?
He died, yeah. But I went up to the flat and I went to take some pictures because he had taken some really nasty pictures of me.
Really?
Yes. So I found a way to go in and go and get my stuff from there. And for me, that was also very helpful because I came in and I burnt them. So it's like I was in control. The anger comes from the fact that there's a lack of control in your life because you cannot control things. And that is what builds the anger inside you after that. So anyway, through that, I decided that engineering was not my education. I studied and I got engineering, and how I did to get engineering, I have no idea.
Electrical engineering?
I did electrical engineering. How I made it, God knows. I have no idea. I worked for 1 year and I thought, this is not for me. This is just not for me. So and just by accident, I saw a newspaper. They were looking for volunteers, for people to work with learning disabilities, handicapped people. And I thought, okay, what is this? I'll go. And when I got there, I could see they were eating with food and everything. And I thought, oh, this I can't. Anyway, after 2 weeks, I fell in love. And the people that the company I was working in, they sponsored me. So I went to university to study as a nursing and mental health nurse and handicapped nurse. And during that time, in the meantime, my stomach was also getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And every time I went to my doctor just said, oh, it's your head, it's in your head, and, take a couple of paracetamol, And of course, I was, but when I started doing the nursing, I thought, Eva, something is really wrong. So I changed my doctor and they found that I had a fibroid. But my fibroid, I was almost like 5-6 months pregnant in my fibroid. So a lot of things have been tied up in a lot of my organs. God being so good, I had the amazing doctor. I remember a female doctor, Dr. Henson. She took me by hand. She treated me for once like I'm a human being. And she said to me, Eva, dear darling, you have a 70-30 chance you would never, you have a 70 chance you will not have children. 30% chance that you will have children. I thought, well...
70% that you won't have children?
I won't have children. I said, okay, what am I going to do? So I went on this operation alone, a huge operation, alone, came back, and I thought, okay, God, whatever it is, it's going to be. So gradually I took myself to all these, therapies. And gradually I started getting myself involved in other therapies, in other groups as well, just finding myself gradually. And then gradually I got the self where I've got myself now too, where I am. I wouldn't say I'm a survivor of abuse. I would say I'm actually a liver of life after abuse. I am here. I'm not a survivor.
You're living.
I am living life. I am living life.
Show some love, man.
I am really living life.
Yeah, what amazes me after everything you've been through, a typical profile of somebody who's gone through what you've gone through is, I'm surprised to hear you're married, you have beautiful kids, they're in the studio now. Show them some love, folks. How did you get yourself up? Yeah, manage to even...
It took a lot, and it takes a lot of courage, and it takes a lot of hard work, and it takes a lot of belief, and it takes a lot of faith to actually get there. Because the thing about when you're being abused is that when you get actually sexually abused, your emotions are not there anymore. You're not a person anymore. When you do things, you're cold. So sometimes you get married and you perform your wifely duties, but you're very cold because it's just something, because that emotion, that thing that it was supposed to be done with love and everything else, it's all been broken. So you do that in a completely different way. And what I did was I went through all of that. I put myself in situations where I could be abused. When I look back in my life, I had boyfriends, I did. As I said, I couldn't go out. I had my low self-esteem, everything else. But when you go through the therapies, what you do is you start facing these issues, and then you walk through them. They're extremely painful. But trust me, please, if you're going through that, trust me, it is worth it. It's like being in jail, in a cage, and being let out. It's the biggest freedom you could ever have. It is really and truly the biggest freedom. And what I am here, for me primarily, is to say, is that we have to turn the culture one way, another way again. What we're doing now, it's not helping. We have children, we have adults that are being abused. And if we were keeping quiet, it's encouraging situations, then we must be proactive. We must go in schools. We must teach the children the pride of their own bodies. We must let them understand where the boundaries are with their own bodies. What is wrong with teaching them? Because the kids, they will find it up in Google or wherever it is, and they'll find even worse worse things to see. So as parents, as pastors, as educationalists, we need to do that. But if parents don't want to do it, the church doesn't want to do it, and all the pastor education doesn't want to do it, do the pastors, do they even get any training in this area of life? Do they get any training at all how to help these people? And we need to bring them up. We need to bring these issues up. I think it's extremely important. We need to also have a situation where we know that the judiciary system, for example, is also backing, people who are also offenders, because offenders sometimes they also need help. Because sometimes what happens is that the offender is also being abused. So that's what they know, and they also need help. Some of them need help, and we need to have a system. It doesn't help when somebody's going through this trauma and somebody stands and says, "Oh, it's your own fault because it's what you are wearing." We need a system that is more compassionate. We need a system that is quick. We don't need to go 6 months, 1 year backwards and forwards. We need people who are going to interview that are sensitive. And we need people also, the offenders, we also need to give them help, or they also need to get the appropriate, incrimination, if that's the case, that we have to do. And society, for goodness sake, dear society, let's wake up for once. Let's wake up.
And it's not just needing people, we need trained people.
We need
who,
trained
I guess,
people.
understand what the victim is going through, to be able to come. We don't have that.
We don't have that. And we
hope.
We hope that by talking about it and people being able to talk about it, and it is important, as I keep saying, the secret of this, the secret of abuse, and I know it's a lot of shame and a lot of things, but truly, my sister, my brother, whoever, the real power of it is to talk about it, actually, because the offender, what they do is they threaten you. If you do it, nobody's going to believe you. I'm going to kill you. I'm not going to give you money. Whatever it is. But in actual fact, if they weren't afraid, they would not do it. So the psychology is different. So I am here to say that, for goodness sake, get the damn power there and say no. It stops here. Go out there and talk about it. The secret is we have to talk about these issues. We do.
Wow.
I have nothing after that. I have to admit, I have a very good relationship with my father because we got things sorted things out. I'm sorry, I'm talking a bit Danish. Yeah, because I wasn't willing to make this kill me, because that's where it was getting to, and that's what it does.
I'm surprised it didn't.
Yes, well,
it
did get to a point. It was I kill myself now or I fight. And it's a tough battle. I'm not going to sit here and say it's an easy battle. And I know something I'm going to say that it goes just like that, because sometimes you walk by and you hear a sound and it takes you back, or a smell or a statement or something, and it clicks you back there. But when you've come out of that side, you can look at it and say, do you know what? That we put into one side. Yeah. I have had a very good relationship with my father, where there was a lot of respect, actually the other way, and also with my mother that I have. I have worked to the point that I don't hate men. A lot of people think, and I don't have that sort of sexually afraid of men or in that ways. But I have to say it's a long way. I'm not going to say it's an easy way, but my goodness, take the courage and just do it.
Okay. Wow. see what I said in the beginning, that this is going to be one of the most inspiring things you've heard. There is life after this, and
There
you've
is life
actually
after
moved
this.
on. And folks, by the way, I'm going to be there in a second, but take this number, all of you listening out there, watching, you may have something to say. There may be somebody you want to talk to. There's a special hotline for you all. It's 055-356-9921. The number is on the screen now. It's a hotline for all you out there who are gone through all kinds of things and you need somebody to talk to, a good listening ear. This number to call. The number is still on your screen, 055-356-9921. Amasawa,
Yes.
I have to. I can't end without talking about a few other things. So we're going to wrap up, and then next week, guys, you see the conclusion next week about everything he's been through and the advice that she has for you all. So Ama, thank you very, very much.
My pleasure.
And next week there'll be more of you as we bring the final conclusion to this saga.
Great.
Stick around, folks. We'll be
Thank
right
you.
back.
Thank you. Thank you.
The KSM Show.